In this video I'll be discussing how to control the behavior of lookups on filters. I've launched Studio and opened up the AdventureWorks database and gone to the purchasing vendor table, and I haven't changed any of the attributes of the fields yet, so we'll just go into the query builder and look at the behavior of the lookups. By default, I've selected the purchasing vendor table and I'm going to drag up the vendor ID. You can see that the automatic logic has picked up that the vendor ID and the account number, and if I bring up the account number, you'll see it's brought out the account number and the name as well. So this is the automatic logic that's kicking in. Occasionally you'll find that the lookup doesn't quite contain the type of logic that you require. For example, the credit rating in this example is 1 to 5, but we don't know if 1 is good or bad. We'd like to spell it out for the user and replace this lookup with a list of values. So let's start on that first. I'll just go to credit rating, and you can see down here we've got filters, and we've also got a validation method. In this case, the valid values for the credit rating are 1 to 5, and each has their own unique description. What I'm going to do is choose from the list value list, and this allows me to define the values and their corresponding descriptions, and also the SQL that drives it. You can see that it's given me the template, and what I would do here is say that 1 corresponds to good, for example, and the next two values are optional, but they allow you to tune the SQL that runs behind the selection. I've already prepared a template, so I'm just going to paste that in, and you can see that 1 corresponds to excellent, 2 for good, 3 okay, and so forth. At any part of this value list you can insert control tags and script. For example, if version X, then only show a certain number of items. Okay, so let's save that and go back to the query builder so that we can view the results. Now in query builder, when I filter on credit rating, you should see the list of values that we defined before. If I select on OK, it brings back the 3. I could have chose a different letter for that, and if I type in OK and output some values and preview the data, you can see that both the number and the description are acceptable in the lookup. And if I view the SQL, you can see that based on the value list lookup, it's worked out that it should put 3 into the where clause. This is where those custom SQL statements in the third parameter of that value list comes in handy. So you could even do combinations of values in there. Next, I'll show you how to change the behavior of these types of lookups. For example, if we wanted to show the account number, the name, and the credit rating, we can define that. So just go to account number, and if I click on lookup, you can see that currently it's set to automatic, but I'd like to override that to do a field list. And what this allows me to do is specify the fields that will appear in the lookup. Currently it's account number, and I'd like to choose name and credit rating, and select OK. and we'll save that and view the result. So now when I click on account number, you'll see that I have 3 columns instead of the 2 that were automatically appearing before. Next, I'll show you how to inherit lookups from other fields. I have selected a table called production product, and you can see that it has a size unit measure code here, and under there you've got a join to the production unit measure table. What I'd like to do is inherit the lookup from a particular field from this table. Now the automatic logic does a pretty good job of it. What it will do is infer that this field here is related to the code in the join below and associate it with that lookup. But if for some reason you want to override the logic, you can use inheritance. So I'm just going to select measure code and go to the lookup, and this time I'm going to select inherit, and then I'll choose the table from where I would like to inherit the and then once I've selected the table, I can then select the field I'd like to inherit the lookup from. And you can see in the properties it's telling you that it's going to inherit that particular lookup. This is handy where the subtable contains a complete list of codes, where if you had done a lookup at the root table, you would do a select distinct from that table and only contain values that exist in the rows. I'll just explain some of the other options on lookups now and how they control the behavior of the query produced. So in this case here we have a field list, and you can see that it's going to do a complete select distinct from the table, but we could restrict the lookup to respect the scope of the other filters in the query above the field that we're doing the lookup on at various levels. And also we can restrict the number of rows that are returned in the lookup. This is quite handy when the lookup could be quite sizable. 100,000 rows or more would certainly take a long time to return, so we can cap that off. Also related to lookups are the default filter values, which are defined here. So you can give a field a default value and also insist that the field is filtered all the time for a particular query mode, or it has certain restrictions like a single value only, or it can only be filtered once. So all those properties are grouped under filters.